Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Today in this video I'm going to be answering the question that I get quite a lot, which is how can I easily make a twisted shape in Fusion 360? There are multiple ways of doing this. One way is with Create Form. So there's a whole menu here that has all these different options to make a twisted shape. However, I find that there is an easier way of doing it, and that's what I'm going to be showing you in today's video. So the plan today is to make a twisted vase shape, or it could be a plant pot or any kind of pot, or just a cylinder that's got a twisted shape on it. So what I'm going to do to begin with is start with new component. The reason I do this is because when the parts become more complex, it's easier to edit them if they are as components. So I've done that. I'm going to rotate my work screen by clicking the top face on this box in the corner, and I'm going to click Create Sketch, and I'm going to click the top plane, and I'm going to click on Polygon and Circumscribed Polygon. I'm going to hover my mouse over the center point, and it automatically clicks onto the origin. And so I've dragged my line. However, I'm not going to click yet. I'm going to hover my mouse over this edge number box and change the number. You have to do that first. If you click the polygon first, you won't be able to then edit this. So edit that first and then click off the polygon and click Escape. Next I'm going to dimension this, so click Sketch Dimension, two opposite sides, select, and I'm going to make this 100 millimeters. I'm going to escape from that. I'm then going to click this line at the top, and I'm going to click horizontal vertical. So it doesn't matter if I click this line or a line on the side, because when you click it, it will just, whatever it's closest to, so this line is already very close to being horizontal, so it will make it horizontal. And this line here is already vertical, close to vertical, so it would make it vertical. If you clicked any of the lines in between, it would pick, so the one in the middle here, it would probably do it horizontal because it's slightly more horizontal than it is vertical. It has the ability to see whether it's closer to being horizontal or vertical, and it'll just pick whatever is closest. So I'm clicking that line and I'm going to click horizontal vertical in the constraints, and that just makes that line horizontal. The reason I do that is because this sketch needs to be fully defined, and you will know if it's fully defined because it will be black. And now this line is black, the origin is black, it's fully defined. If it was blue, it's undefined, and especially with doing things like this where we're going to be making twists, these sketches could move around later on and cause problems. So make sure it's fully defined and the sketch is black. You can then click Finish Sketch, and that is that sketch done. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to insert a plane. I'm going to click Construct an Offset Plane. And what that does is that introduces another place where we can draw a sketch. So very faintly in the middle, you might be able to see there's the three planes come up. I'm going to click on the top plane, which is the same plane that we drew the first sketch on. And I'm going to put 100 millimeters, which means it's 100 millimeters above the original plane, and click OK. So I'm going to click on my plane, and I'm going to click Create Sketch. Now, what I'm going to do here, to make this slightly easier, I'm going to click on Project. And what this does is this takes the sketch that is already there and it will project it onto the new plane. So I'm going to click all my points well, all my edges really, 16, and I'm going to click OK. And you can see there that that has created a new sketch on the new plane. Now, I'm going to put that back to where it was, so top, so I can see from the top. I want this to be slightly smaller than it is, so I'm going to select the whole sketch and I'm going to click offset. And then what I'm going to do is I want this smaller, so I'm going to put -10 in here. If you want to, you can just put 10 and then click the flip. But I just put it as -10 because in some of the other commands you have to put the minus, it doesn't have the flip option. And then click OK. And you can see now that sketch has now been pushed inwards by 10mm all the way around. And then I'm going to click Finish Sketch. Finally, I'm going to add another plane. So in the same way as before, offset plane, and I'm going to click the plane at the bottom again. And I'm going to make this now 200, so this is even taller than the other one I made. And you can see the plane there. You may have noticed that the plane we made earlier has disappeared. That's because Fusion likes to tidy up as it goes, but you can go back and find it. So if you click on the arrow next to the component, click to the arrow next to construction, and you can see here there's the planes. Next to it are these little eyes, so if it's dark, it means it's visible. If it's lighter and it's got a line across through it, that means it's invisible, it's hidden. But you can just click it and it comes back, or you can click it to show and open them. It's the same with the sketches, so up here I can see the sketches, but if they disappear later on, which they will when we start doing the lofts, that's how you can get them back. Okay, so I'm going to click the new plane I've just created, and I'm going to click Create Sketch. I'm going to do the same thing again, and I'm going to project. I'm going to select all my edges. The reason why it's good to project is that if you want to make a change to the size, you only have to change the first sketch. Because it's all projected, the other sketches will move with the first one. So this is good in this situation because it means if we wanted to come back to it later and we realise actually it's too big or too small, we can change the 100mm dimension that we put on originally to a different size, and then the middle sketch and the top sketch will change with it. However, if this is something that you don't want to happen, then you'd need to make all the sketches individually and they wouldn't be reliant on each other. Okay, so that's been projected, and what I'm going to do with this one is the same again. I'm going to select the whole thing, offset, but this time I want it to be bigger, so I'm going to make that 10mm bigger. And so we've got our 3 sketches. Click Finish Sketch because that's done. Now we're going to start doing the lofting. So click on Create, Loft. And what Loft does is it creates a shape between 2 sketches. So I'm going to click this one in the middle, the sketch in the middle, and the sketch at the top. Be careful not to click the individual points, because if you do that, it thinks you want to select it to the actual point. No. So click the space in between the points to get that. So the reason I'm lofting the top first is because when I practiced this, there's a few issues. So you'll see here there's this drop down menu that says connected in direction. When I did the bottom first, it came up with different options here. And it's not so much a problem if those are the options that you'd want, but those are not the options that I want for this. So I'm doing the top first. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to twist the loft. So you can see here there's all these points. This one is blue. I'm going to double click the blue one, which selects all of these lines. And I'm just going to drag it across. And you can see that just goes across. And it should just click, attach, snap onto another point. So I've moved that across by 1.5 points. And then what I'm going to do is it this one or this one? Profile 2, no, profile 1. If you change connected to direction, it makes the direction more perpendicular to the sketch. So when it comes out, as opposed to connected, it is diagonal, whereas direction, it comes up perpendicular and then curves at the end to the second sketch profile. It just makes it look a little bit more visually nicer and a bit more like a vase. And I'm going to click OK. Next, I'm going to do the same but with the lower half. So Loft, I'm going to click that sketch and then I'm going to click this bottom face. Move that across. And then I'm going to just rotate this so I can see that blue one a bit better. You can zoom in as much as you need to on this. I'm going to double click and then I'm going to move it across to that point. Go and just zoom in and make sure that's, I want it to be on the same as the one above. There we go. And then last thing you want to do is operation here, make sure that is on join. It shouldn't be on new body or new component, it should be on join, because then that joins the two halves together. And then click OK. I've forgotten to do the... Okay, so this is why we started from the top. Okay, so avoid the wrong options coming up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this little cursor at the bottom of the timeline. I'm going to move it before the loft that I've just created. I'm then going to loft the other half. So I'm going to click my two sketches and I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to double click the blue point and then drag it across by 1.5. And then I'm going to change these directions. I'm going to put them both as directed because I want it to be more curved on both sides. Okay, and then that is new body. Okay. I'm then going to scroll this back and that's now all lined up nicely. But what I need to do now is I need to go back into the one that I created first. I need to change this operation to join. And that's because if it's a new body, then it thinks it's two separate things, and it's not, it's one item. So click OK. And there we go. And that's how you get that twisted, lofted shape. Next, I'm going to add a fillet to the bottom face. So I'm going to flip it upside down, click on there. If you just select the face, it will select all the edges. And I'm going to put that at 5mm and click OK. Next, obviously, there is no hole in this, so it'd be really good to have a hole to be able to put stuff in it. So I'm going to click the top face and I'm going to click shell. And what this does is this takes out the material in the middle, and what you need to do is just type in the number of the thickness of the material that you want left behind. So I'm going to put 4mm and click enter. and then that takes the material from the middle. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a small fillet to these edges on the top, just to make them a bit more curved. So I'm going to add a new fillet, and let's see if I can select this face. This might not work. Oh yeah, it does. Okay, that's good. Select face, and then it will just fillet all the edges on that face, and then click OK. And there we have our curved vase. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that sketch in the middle and the sketch at the bottom. And then this is how it looks. So you can play around with the points depending on how far around you want the twists to go. I've done quite a small twist. If you wanted larger twists, just drag the point further around when you're doing the loft. So I'm now going to save this as, what should I call it, Twisted Loft Vase. One, and save that, and then you need to export it to an STL file. So just scroll down on the menu options to get STL, because that's what you need for 3D printing, and click export. Now you need to go to your Ultimaker Cura and then click the open file, Twisted Loft Vase 1, open that, and because I drew it in the same orientation as the bed, as in the bottom was at the bottom of the sketch and the top is at the top of the sketch, it automatically comes in the right direction. If you need to change it, you can click on it, and then you've got all these options here to move it around to however you need. So I've got my settings already set up for my printer, and I'm not going to change them, to be honest. I'm going to click slice, yeah, that's going to take a while, but it's quite a big part, so that would be why. So let's just have a little look at what it wants me to do. So there's no supports there, but because this bottom edge is radiused, there are some very small supports just on the bottom there on the edges. So yeah, that's not too bad. That's definitely doable. So that means that when it's printed, I could just very quickly snap off and neaten up that little bit on the bottom. Excellent. So now I'm going to save to my disk. So that would be the USB or data card that your printer takes, or you might have a printer that has Wi-Fi. So do that, send it to your printer, and then follow the instructions on your printer for printing it. So good luck with this one. I hope it goes well. Let me know if you have any problems, and we'll see you next time.